I love you. Hey, all you lovely couch potatoes. You're all so happily coming through that door to sit down and listen to us talk yet again here on the couch. I don't know why I tossed the title and I was going to let you do that, but it came out that way.
You did it. It's all good. I have to tell you, the last couple times that you've introduced the show, I just get a really strong Bob Ross vibe. And I'm
really?
loving it. Yeah.
Oh,
it's
fabulous.
Like, come on through that front door. Now take a little titanium white.
That is the energy I would rather put out, but it always kind of feels like, especially when I start shitting on a movie, it just comes out more as like the naggy critic, just the douchey white guy. But it's not. I would rather put out the Bob Ross energy, so fuck yeah.
Well,
except then I
it's
cuss,
a nice,
and then that ruins everything.
Fucking start. And
right.
Then, you get into what you're really passionate about, and that is shitting on films. I am the Faceless Leone.
I'm the Green Traveler.
And we're actually not talking about movies today on the podcast.
No.
We are talking Masters of the Universe Revelation, a sequel to the classic 80s He-Man show.
And just a foreshadowing for you all out there. A long time ago, I said that one of my problems with the TV talks was going to be that we were typically only going to be talking movies that we both like, because TV is very hard for me to watch.
Right.
Because it feels like it's a lot of time. You have to put a lot of your time and effort into watching this shit. And like, I am such a hurrying individual. I am always trying to go on to the next thing, that a TV show just takes up a lot of that time. And so I just, I hardly ever get through it. And so, when I was envisioning TV talks, I figured it'd be very difficult because most of the episodes are going to be us gushing about television or what makes a certain show good.
Right.
So we have a special episode for you today because I did not like this show, and we're going to talk that later.
So I feel like, and this is just a curtain to our closing statement early, that this show is very divisive with the audience, because I thought it was pretty great.
I feel like I hate it for different reasons than what most people hate it for.
Oh, that's fair, though.
From what I've seen, it seems like, and I don't want to get into the show too much yet, but it feels like a lot of the contention of this show, or I don't know if contention is the right word, but a lot of the hatred this show's getting is from former fans.
Sure.
Like people who used to love the old stuff and don't like what they've done with the new stuff. And I'm not one of those. So it's like, I feel like I have different.
I have maybe caught 2 or 3 episodes of the original show, and I will tell you, is very slow moving, kind of jumpy though at the same time. Like, they'll be doing one thing and then they're doing another. And, I'm shitting on somebody's favorite show now that I haven't actually seen. But it just felt like a lot of shows of the era is the thing.
Right.
And this is much more defined, clear cut. It has an actual direction of what it's trying to do. So
yeah, you look at the original like the same way you look at original Doctor Who. You're like, how is this for children? Like it's very slow and dry, and it's just like I don't see children being very interested in that kind of stuff. So it's like it just rocks me that kids at the age did watch this stuff. This was their jam.
I'll tell you though, I watched a lot of Thundercats because it was on Boomerang.
Oh yeah,
and
Thundercats! Oh.
But it has that same drawl. Like it kind of just creeps along. Like that, there's like the climaxes aren't. I don't know. They never really seem to hit all that.
Well, I mean,
hard.
that might be we might be like stepping in on like a generational discovery though, because it's just like that might be why our generation has like so much anxiety problems. Is our shows like what was made for us and our age were the more like action and like got to keep the kids interested, got to keep them, we got to do something next, Teletubbies and all that shit.
Yeah,
like we were fucked up from the get-go.
Your description was nothing like what Teletubbies is.
Dude, Teletubbies makes no sense. It is just the next crazy shit after the next crazy shit. That's what I'm saying. Is like they just had to keep going.
You made me drop my notebook.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Take me out to the living room. Take me out to my chair. Shut the curtains and turn on the tube. I don't care if we even eat food, for it's the faceless pitch.
Yeah. I tried to snap like a little beat in there.
I liked it. I don't know if it really lined up or not because of the internet, but we'll see.
Right? I'll put it together and it'll sound just like end. I'll be snapping over all of your lyrics and they're like, please shut the fuck up.
What the hell is that? It's not like, I mean, though, you know, they probably feel the same way as soon as I start pretending to give a tune. So welcome to the Faceless Pitch. This is my podcast now.
Yep, you took it over.
I took it over.
This is where you usurp your whole form just to like coat everything, and now it's just like instead of a couch, it's just your body.
Yeah, I become the room. I am the couch. So here on the Faceless Pitch, I talk about 3 TV series that I have watched recently. And to give you a little view into my addiction of television, I watched these all quite some time ago, actually. I have this list in front of me of television shows that I've watched. So first, I want to talk to you about one that I have been pretty excited to talk about. I feel like this one, a lot of people have saw it and were like, okay, that looks very strange, and have just passed it up. I'm talking about Sweet Tooth. So, Sweet Tooth on Netflix.
Is that the Jason Momoa one?
No, it is not. I think that's called Sweet Girl, and I do think that's actually a film. I think I told you that I thought it was a series at one point, but I think that is a film.
Gotcha.
Sweet Tooth is a post-apocalyptic series about,
fun.
But so this apocalypse illness, so that might be an ill-timed thing for some people right now because of the pandemic. But
a little bit.
The illness does kill off a good majority of the world's population, but at the same time, all the babies start to be born as hybrids. And when I say hybrids, it sounds like maybe am I talking about vampires? What's going on? No. They're like half human, half some kind of animal creature. And the main character's name is Gus. And he's half little boy and half deer.
Oh, gosh.
So it kind of, like, when you watch the trailer, you're not sure if it's supposed to be, like, tense and a little nerve-wracking and depressing, or if it's supposed to be cute and inviting. And I'll tell you, I watched this show, and it is both things. I don't know how they did it. And it's actually, I feel like it does it very successfully. So Gus, he lives out in the woods with his Pubba, which is what he calls his dad. Will Forte plays his dad.
Oh, nice.
Yes, but something happens to Pubba, and he decides to follow this gentleman that he just calls Big Man. Right off the top of my head, I didn't actually pull up the cast list or anything. I apologize. But he, before the apocalypse, was a football player, and now he is taking care of Gus as they journey across the country, which is taken over by these anti-hybrid militants who are trying to also cure what they call the sick, because there's still bouts of it going on. They meet this person who was a part of this tribe of teenagers who were, they were trying to be against the system and also try to be a safe haven for hybrids. And one of them, named Bear, because they all take animal names, decides to go with them. And that is the little unit that we follow through this. And there's also a B story with the scientist trying to save his wife and cure the sick. So it's very, very complex storytelling, but it does it in a way that, like I said, is engaging. You feel for these people. Do find some adorable elements with the hybrid characters. I don't know. It kind of blew me away. I really was surprised by it. So, what do you think, Greeny?
Is it animated?
No, this is live action.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, this
that
is
makes it
live
way
action.
more interesting.
So there is some CGI and then some really good makeup.
Gotcha. Because you said Will Forte, and I immediately just started thinking it was animated, because isn't he more of a voice actor typically?
Sometimes I honestly, most of the stuff I've seen him in, he has been
Is live action?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he does a lot of like TV stuff, like.
Yeah, I don't see him in a lot of stuff. I do like what I have seen him in.
Yeah, this is good. He's good in this as Pubba too. He really tugs at the heartstrings.
It definitely sounds intriguing, and I understand why I haven't heard about it until now, and it's because
it's such a concept. I mean,
well, also I work with mostly women. I think I've worked with 4 or 5 women who have gotten pregnant. So this would have been like a huge fear of theirs if they were going to give birth to like a hybrid baby.
A little monster. Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine the majority of the individuals who watch television around me that I see on a daily basis probably passed this up for that fact alone. I mean, maybe they did see it. Maybe they did, and I just haven't heard them talk about it. But yeah, I didn't hear anything about this, but it definitely sounds intriguing. I would take a swing at it.
Sounds good. Just as a last note to it, it seems like something that would be really easy to just pass up, but I think it will surprise you. Next pitch, Midnight Gospel, or rather, The Midnight Gospel, is created by Duncan Trussell. He has a podcast, I believe, called the Duncan Trussell Family Hour. Yes, that is correct. And I haven't really listened to much of the podcast, but I followed it because of this show. So in the Midnight Gospel, you follow around Clancy, who this is animated, by the way. I'll clear that up front.
I've actually seen a few episodes of this one.
Okay, so anyhow, Clancy, he has a simulator that he has bought, and it takes him to virtually to other worlds. But you could like really die in these simulators. They're kind of fucked up, and his is kind of broken too. But he goes there, and then he ends up interviewing somebody that lives in this simulated world. These interviews are actually cut from the podcast and then put into the show. And it's a really cool concept. And this has actually been the second time that I've watched this, because some of the stuff that they talk about really blew me away. There's a lot about death in it. And, you get people's real feelings, like people who know that they're going to die. That he interviews his mother at some point and she has cancer. So there's just some great philosophical stuff here, and some really kind of mind-warping animation, and that's my pitch for this show.
Easiest swing I ever made. That was a really good one, because I haven't finished it. I just watched a few episodes, but I remembered a friend had told me, she's like, oh, you have to watch this. This is definitely up your alley. Make sure you take an illicit substance beforehand. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. I mean, clearly I did not take the illicit stuff, the bad drug. No, I wouldn't. But I will say that, with an inebriated state of mind, this show is just, it's fun to just sit back and get wowed by. Like, it's very deep, and it's, the animation is amazing. So, like, I'm not saying people that you should go out there and do things, but
if you wanna,
this is one of those shows that it's really nice to just sit back and relax to, at the very least.
Hell yeah.
Because it's just trippy absurdity. But what they're talking about is very deep, and like the animation is at times very hilarious. Like there's a lot of funny stuff that just happen through the story, and how that kind of juxtaposes with what they're saying. And it doesn't really juxtapose; it kind of just works. But it's just funny. It is. I don't know why I didn't finish it. Basically, is I guess what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, it's funny in that, like, oh man, is it okay to laugh at this kind of way? Not like it's offensive or anything. It's just like it kind of plays with our taboos a little bit.
Right.
I can't recommend it enough. Like, I'm sure somebody will watch this and get offended because people like to get offended. But it really makes you think while you laugh. And
like I think the reason I didn't go further was like there was just some stuff that they were talking about that like kind of worked at my anxiety.
Yeah,
because they do get really close to some like triggering issues, And I feel like there are some people who might not be able to make it through some of the stuff they talk about because it is very deep and heavy.
Definitely.
And I think that might have been why I didn't continue. I feel like I probably watched one episode that was just like a little too weighing on my mind. And I was just like,
they get into it fast. Then they stare there for a little while and then they uplift you. I do hope that you get back into it because like I said, I've watched it twice. So, our last pitch, and maybe I should have done this one in the middle because I have an unpopular opinion, I think. This is the IT crowd. I like Richard Ayoade, and
I want him to play the Doctor so fucking badly.
Yeah. So I really like the actors who are in this show. Richard Ayoade plays Maurice Moss. We both really enjoy him. And you have, I think, expressed on the show, and you did on record just a moment ago, but I don't know how you want to cut this.
I'm going to keep it.
Okay, sounds good. He going to be the Doctor in our minds for forever, so just make it happen, Britain.
Yeah, in a year, the role's up for grabs. It's his. He can have it. I want him to have it.
Yeah. Though I do also feel like I would feel bad that if they did just one shot with a female Doctor and then changed it up.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to keep that option open too. That's why my other choice is Letitia Wright.
Nice.
I love her, but the Black Panther's got her locked down, man.
So Richard plays opposite of Chris O'Doyle in this partnership of nerdy love. I think you're both fabulous actors, and you really did crack me up in this show, as well as Catherine Parkinson, who plays their boss, but she knows nothing about IT, which is, part of the bit. And they have two bosses over them, one played by Chris Morris. He starts off the show as Renholm. It's been a while since I watched the show, so I don't have it in my head how to pronounce it, but it's the name of the company that they work out as well. Eventually they kill off Christopher Morris. I don't know why, if there was some reason. I think he was still part of the show. But they bring in Matt Berry as his son, Douglas Renholm. And Matt Berry, I think, is one of the most hilarious people on the planet. You would know him probably, I think, most properly from The Toast of London or What We Do in the Shadows, the televised version. But anyhow, I didn't like either of those characters. Like they're funny and they know how to tell a joke, but most of the jokes were about sexual harassment and I don't know. And that was really just the whole show was mostly sexual harassment jokes. And I did not enjoy it, but I thought Jim Barber and the two guys from IT had a great chemistry, but they didn't do very much with Jin's character. Once they started having good stuff, it seemed like they would go away from it. And it only had 5 seasons, and only in the 5th one only just had 1 episode, which was like a send-off episode. I don't know how popular the sitcom or how long sitcoms stick around in England. I also want to do shout out to Noel Fielding, who plays Richmond in it. He also judges on the Great British Bake Off. He's great. I thought he was also hilarious. Everything with Richmond is pretty great. But he leaves the show and comes back whenever the fuck he wants. So I just the show's just kind of a mess in my opinion. It was hard for me to say that I enjoyed it.
I agree with you because we were recommended this a long time ago in college by a couple of friends of ours, and I watched I think all of it with them. And there were 3 episodes that I thought were some of the best episodes of television ever.
Right.
There's one episode that I definitely include as one of the best televisions of episode ever, and that's the one where they go to that theater and one of them ends up somehow becoming like an employee there randomly. Like that episode is fabulous. It's so funny to me. I think the other one becomes part of the actual play itself, and it's ridiculous. But I don't know. Most of that show it felt like there was great concept that wasn't grasped.
Right. Definitely.
And so it's like, yeah, I watched all of it with my friends, and they're all laughing and having a good time, and I'm laughing, but I'm laughing more with them and not at the show.
Right.
The only thing I loved about it was Richard Ayoade. The only thing I got from that, well, that was my first ever experience with Richard Ayoade. I watched all of it, and my one takeaway was I want him to play the Doctor. Right. I don't want him to bring that character to the Doctor. Everybody that talks about Richard Ayoade being the Doctor seems like they just want that character as the Doctor.
They want Moss.
Yeah, I want the actor because he was fucking beautiful, and I can imagine him perfectly playing the Doctor. He can be a nerdy guy that just appears somewhere, but at the same time could also scare the living pants off of you by doing something so ridiculous that you're like, why would you do that?
For sure.
He just carries that charisma.
I think, he would do a great job. And in this, he does also have a great job. And there's a D&D episode that I thought was great. Like, it wasn't like the whole episode like they do in Community or anything, but it's a great bit when they're taking these like stuffy, sexist businessmen and making them play D&D and talk about their problems.
Right. Yeah, it was a swing and a miss for me. Yeah, I enjoy the enjoyment others get from it, and I understand when others call it like one of the best comedies of all time. I'll let them have it. Sure. It definitely, I have seen its power. People clearly enjoy it. It's like when I watch Big Bang Theory. I hate the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, everybody who watches it, though, they're all laughing and everything, and they're having a great time. And I'm like, you know what? If it makes you happy, it makes you fucking happy. That's great.
True. 100%.
I respect the IT crowd for being a good comedy. It wasn't a good comedy for me. Yeah. Richard Ayoade and Chris O'Doyd, they were the only ones that
stuck with you.
Really, it was their chemistry, and that's all it needed to focus on, really. But
yeah, and I will say I like other stuff with Matt Berry so much more. I did not like Douglas Renholm. So let's move on to something else that you didn't really enjoy.
Yeah, but here's the thing: the reason I was able to get through this, it's 5 fucking episodes.
Yeah.
So, I watched the first one and I was like, okay, I like this. And then the ending happened of the first episode. And I think a lot of people don't like the ending. That's another thing. I can agree with them. I like the choice it makes to do, it tries to do. I don't think they really capitalize on it, in my opinion. But, there's and we'll talk about it soon, but there's a decisive moment at the end of episode 1 where I just didn't like the show after that. And I think the reason was because I didn't know anything about this show going forward. Here, my only knowledge of He-Man, I know the show, I know the characters, I've seen some of the clips, I know Skeletor. I could say Skeletor and I could say He-Man, and that was about it. The only knowledge I had was the animated cover of Four Non-Blondes, Hey Yay, or Hey 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 that's it. That's the only experience I had, was that ridiculous animated video where He-Man, where they just took clips from the old animated show and
it's the best.
made it to that Four Non-Blonde song. It's fucking beautiful. I love it.
And that is honestly like, I know that I've heard the song before that, but that was definitely my introduction to that song. It's one of my favorite songs. Not Enough, ironically, is a great song.
Right? It's great. But that's my only experience with it. And so they make a decision at the end of the first episode that's like, we're not doing anything that you know of prior to this. We're scratching that. And the next 3 or 4 episodes are going to be completely different. And it's like, that's a good decision. That is good. Yeah. Because everybody had been telling me prior to this that you don't need to watch the original show to watch this show. I think you're wrong. Everybody who's told me that, I think you should probably watch the original show, because even though a lot of it's explained in this show, me watching this and not really being invested, I missed all of that exposition. And so I had no fucking idea what was going on.
They kind of do a blurb at the very beginning of the first episode. And it's very much something that you could glaze over, because it's I feel like it's also something that I kind of did in The Adventures of Aragorn, was it's just a big narrated blurb. And I felt like when I was writing it that I had to introduce the people to the world. But if you're putting it on, and this is just a purely audio format for the Adventures of Valagorn, if you put it on, you're probably doing something else as well. So it's probably not super easy to engage with. So Secret Critique of the Adventures of Valagorn, please go check it out still. I do think that that particular problem we fixed as we went along.
I think we've done a good job.
I do too. And yeah, I hope that people out there are enjoying it, and there will be more. So this show, though, I think Kevin Smith knew, or maybe the producers knew, that we needed some kind of context. And so they throw that little tag on there. But like I said, you can go right over it and miss it. And then it's like, oh, okay, so they don't know that he's He-Man? So, yeah.
Because that's where I was really confused. Because, again, I didn't know anything about this. So, at the very beginning of this show, when he first becomes He-Man, they clear the room and everything. And I'm like, okay, so not everybody knows. I get that. Kind of like a secret identity kind of thing. But there's like two people still in the room with him, and he transforms in front of them. And it's like, okay, so his inner circle knows. That's where I was like, okay, sure. His best friends all know. That makes sense. People know who Bruce Wayne and Batman, and it's all his close friends. And some of his enemies on accident. But it's like, sure, that makes sense. And then, like, maybe 5 minutes later, something happens.
Yeah.
And somebody else is like, oh, you're He-Man. I'm just like, what? But you were like, what? And I was just confused for the rest of the series after that.
And so, like I said, you missed the blurb. The blurb literally says these 4 people, and it's just it just shows the illustration. So if you weren't looking at the screen, you missed it.
Right. So
that is one big fault I do think is with the show. I don't think, if you catch that blurb, if you take this PSA from your friendly critiquer, then you can watch this without watching the other show. But if you miss that blurb, you might not know what's going on.
But see, I don't want to put that on the show. I put it on the marketing. Like, everybody and all the people who've been talking to me about this show, it's like, you have to go see this. And I was like, well, I haven't watched the original. And they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's fine. I don't know. I think it's made better by knowing more.
Yeah, that is 100% what I will agree with. I think you could draw a lot of context from that original show that will make it easier to understand what's going on. But at the same time, if you are paying close attention, you will. It is catchable, and you'll be fine. Like, it's not a necessity, but I do think that it will benefit you in your enjoyment of the show. Like I said, I barely knew some of the characters. I inherited hand-me-down toys from the series. I gave them my own names, so. But I think the names I gave them was better, even though I don't remember what they were. Some of these names are it's definitely straight from the 80s. They didn't try, but I feel like in the context of this particular show, it works. Like, they just, in the world that they live in, people just go by goofy names.
I mean, everything's goofy. I mean, just fucking He-Man, Skeletor. Like, it's all just, it's dumb. And what's the fucking castle? What's
Castle Grayskull.
Grayskull, yeah, and it's a gray skull. Like, it's just genius.
But is it?
It's, again, I get it. I get it's for kids. Like, that's another thing. Is like, I know it's not for me, and like, I'm stepping hard back on this show because it's like, nothing about it grasped me. Like, I don't know. It just, and I think that's why, again, you need the original show so that you're invested in these characters, at least somewhat. Like, all I did is I went in knowing who He-Man and who Skeletor was. Those were the only things I knew. And I knew that Mark Hamill played Skeletor.
Oh, hell. Yes, he does.
So here's the thing. I have a natural attachment to 2 characters. Hey y'all, Past Me is about to drop a huge spoiler, so skip to minute 30 if you want to avoid that and continue to watch the show. Thanks. And slight spoilers for the first episode, people. Guess what? They fucking die immediately. I'll put up a spoiler wall before I buy that, but they die immediately.
They do.
And it's like, all right, we're not following the two characters Greg knows and what only interested him in this movie or in this show.
Yes,
we're going to follow other characters.
A reason why they don't put He-Man in the title.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So that, and I do think, like, you know, we could maybe drop the spoiler wall, the end of it right here. This story primarily focuses on Tila, who is voiced by Sarah Michelle Gellar, which she does. I think she does a great job. I honestly, the voice work in this is pretty great. I don't think you can really complain about the voice work at all.
I didn't think it was compelling, but it was good.
Okay.
Like, it was, it's good. It is good voice acting, but it's not like, you know, I've seen so many more investing, you know, scenes in animation and anime that, you know, the voice acting was just more like I felt it. Whereas here it's just like, yes, you did a good job and it definitely reads well. It's for kids. Gotta step back on it.
So, yeah. And so we have Kevin Smith on this project. I'm a pretty big Kevin Smith fan. I'm not going to sit here, though, and say that everything the man has done is a pot of gold or anything.
I'm more of a fan of his long tails.
Oh, yes. He's just a fabulous personality. I love him. He seems like a genuinely awesome dude to get to know.
Right, right. He's welcome on the podcast whenever if he hears this.
Oh, yeah. If you hear this, Kev, just come on over. I'm sorry if that's
we could talk
familiar,
DC Comics. And
yeah, hell yeah. We want to pick your brain about that because you are definitely way more knowledgeable than we are. But also, he did get to work... we got Mark Bernardin writing some episodes too, and I love your guys' podcast, Fat Man Beyond. What was I actually saying about Kevin Smith? Oh, I also really like his style. I don't enjoy every single one of his flicks, but his style is always there, and I love it.
Yeah.
And it makes for, you know, laid back movie watching. It's good.
Mm-hmm. And it really blended well with the universe that was set up, I assume, from the original animation. You know, I haven't heard people complain about the universe. It seems like the universe seems fine. Like they did a good job at, you know, recreating this world.
Right. And I think I'm just on the opposite opinion with you with what they do in the first episode, because I think
it's a bold choice.
Yeah, it was a bold choice for damn sure. It just set our expectations on their head. Then we follow Tila and find out that the world is basically dying, and she has to team up with Evil Lynn, who I didn't know that they would. I know quite a few Evelyns, and yeah, there's a joke about her name specifically in the show, which I appreciated. But Evelyn's played by Lena Headey. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. Excuse me. And I thought she's got a really interesting voice.
I really liked her character.
I did too. And they actually made the Evelyn a very deep and interesting character. Like, very, very multifaceted. And I'm sure in that original show, all the characters were pretty 2D. I'm sure.
Probably,
It's just how kids' television was. So she probably was just evil through and through on the animation. So I'm happy that they got a chance to kind of develop this character. And the things that I think happen in the story, it's a good start, I think, for a reboot, is to totally change everything about the show to make it a new show. Right. Like they you start out with the status quo, and then you blow it up. That's how you tell a story. So for that reason, I think this show has a lot of merit, and I enjoyed watching it. But I understand that that's not necessarily how you felt. So
yeah, I mean, I also enjoy the characters they focus on because I like that journey. I like what's going on. Yeah, everything about it is something I do like. But it just didn't captivate me. Gotcha. I wasn't invested in the characters. I wasn't invested in the story. So it's like, they have everything here is good. And I definitely, again, it's one of those things where it's like, I think kids can like it, and I think, adults can like it. It's a show that I am happy people can enjoy and take pleasure in. But there wasn't much to it that just drew me in. And the only things that drew me in were like, because I just like the character design of Skeletor. I like that evil villain, like that, that snide, especially when it's going to be voiced by fucking Mark Hamill.
Yeah,
and somebody else voiced
was definitely the highlight of all the voice acting. Even though I thought that everybody did a great job.
Oh yeah,
some choices he made really cracked me up.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like everybody else. I think everybody did a good job, but from everything, and maybe it's just because Mark Hamill just overshadows people, but from all of it, he seemed like the only one who was taking like a lot of good choices, like a lot of good risks with everything he was doing, even if it is just like very similar to other character voices he's done.
Right.
There are still a lot of good, unique differences in there that you hear Skeletor come through.
Right.
And it's beautiful.
I just, to bounce off that, you're referencing, his Skeletor voice is pretty close to the Joker voice, but I mean, it's Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
What do you want? You want the Joker voice.
But there's enough differences that you hear more of a Skeletor sounding like, yeah. It's like, it's like, yay. But there's another actor who does a different version of Skeletor, and I can't remember, I want to say it was Todd Taylor, but I don't know if that's correct or not.
Who plays? Yes, it's Todd. It's Tony Todd.
Tony Todd. Thank you. Yeah, Tony Todd, Candyman.
Yes, exactly. He plays Scareglow. And
Scareglow.
Yeah,
that's right. I love that name
because Skeletor is like, he's supposed to be a demon incarnate,
right?
Like in a person's body, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyhow, this is his like in hell actual demon version.
The cool part was though when he started speaking, I was just like, is that Candyman? Because I was immediately, because he also does I can't remember which, I think it's Professor Zoom in The Flash and CW.
I can't remember.
The costume version, not the human personality version, just the costume voice.
Right. Is it Zoom? I don't know if they ever labeled the professor part on it. I think they might just refer to him as Zoom.
Yeah, it might have been. But he's such a unique voice that when I heard it, I was just like, oh God, is that him? Yeah, I was like, Tony Todd?
It was at
the same time, it sounded like it might have been Mark Hamill doing Tony Todd.
Yeah, it really did.
I was just like,
I had no idea until I looked at the
I had to look it up.
List. Honestly, I was like, ooh, that is mighty different, but it could be Mark Hamill. And so I had to look it up. And
but it's just because Mark is such a good impressionist. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen him do Harrison Ford, but it's so fucking hilarious. Like, he is so good. He nails the people he works with, because I feel like he is just like such a charitable, personable human being that you have fun around him, that he just gets to know you pretty well. But he was the star of the show for me. He was the one draw, and he's only in like 2 episodes. Maybe he does like smaller cast characters that I didn't pick up. He's
in 5 episodes.
So he's in all 5.
Yes, but he just plays Skeletor. I think there's a lot of flashback scenes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, but I will say, like, he is mostly in like episode 1, episode 5,
right? And
everything he's in is where I'm far more intrigued. And I don't know if it's just because I like Mark Hamill, more than the moon, but it's just, I don't know, nothing else really grabbed me. I really liked the characters. I really liked, the following all those female leads. That's a lot of fun. And I definitely loved Evil Lynn, but I forgot all of it. It's all fading, it's like I watched it not too long ago, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it's hard for me to grasp everything that happens. I remember the big bits, and I also remember that it got like crazy fucking dark and awesome at the very end. Like, enough dark that I'm like, maybe I'll watch season 2 if they come back with it, or season 3 or whatever they call this.
Yeah, the cliffhanger is pretty fun. I think it's still only just the second part that's supposed to come out, but they have, Kevin Smith's written 10 episodes. He's already credited for that.
And that's the other thing. They're very short. They're like 20 minutes long. Right. There's only 5 of them.
It's it's
really easy to watch. Yeah. So it's like, I might come back for season 2 just because that cliffhanger was empowering enough.
Right.
And as you said, all these characters do have depth and there is more to their tale. It's just, I was playing Animal Crossing or something. Like, I was not invested.
Yeah, I think it's a great setup for whatever the second part is. I'm 100% on that.
But it does kind of take that step back because, like, as you were saying, like, the beauty of this season was that, for you, was that it explored a whole new path.
Right.
But kind of at the end, they kind of do just kind of hit the reset. I mean, not really, but they do bring back more elements of that, what you had in the first episode, to the very end. And it's just like, maybe we're not going to be following the same path for the next 10, you know? Maybe it's going to be more focused on Adam / He-Man than Teela?
Teela,
is that her name?
Yes.
Teela? Okay.
So, yeah, we're just going to have to see. We really don't know.
I do find Teela far more intriguing of a character than what we got of Adam and He-Man. Like, I do like the Adam He-Man character, but I feel like I'm more intrigued by her as a lead.
So I feel like at the end, this is a slight spoiler, He-Man is weakened at the end of the show. So it still might be heavily focused on Teela.
Yeah.
We really don't know what direction they're going to take with that. But I think that making it a Masters of the Universe show instead of just the He-Man show, if you listen to the original theme song, they literally just say He-Man over and over again. So it really just feels
He-Man.
like he's the only character.
Please tell me somewhere along the line, though, there's like scouts who are just like, nah.
No, as far as I can tell, it's just them saying He-Man. I turned it off like at like 40 seconds left, but it was just them saying He-Man.
And everybody's now going to comment like, you dumbass, the last 30 seconds are when they're like, Teela and Cat Guy and this person and that guy.
Oh, man. Oh, there is this one element to it that I really kind of want them to go into more. So if you don't know anything about this world, it's very high fantasy, but high technology at the same time. And there's this particular character whose brain is basically controlled by bots or whatever. And he decides that he's just going to start a religion and infect everybody. And they got this new like science religion. And it's kind of super scary. I kind of hope they go into that. Yeah. I kind of hope they go into that a little bit more because that was fun. I honestly don't remember what happened in the end of that character. So, like you said, I do think there is some very easily forgettable stuff about this.
That I don't even remember that entire plot line. I don't know which character you're talking about. I don't remember any of that.
What he's called. He might be called Triclops or... I don't know. Somebody who's a real fan is real. They're like unfollow right now.
They stopped listening a long time ago. But if you didn't stop listening, and you enjoyed what you have heard, even if we have been contrary to your beliefs, you can go down to patreon.com/Green and Faceless and check out our tiers there and maybe sign up.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Help us out a little bit.
That would be awesome. If you like the show, that would be great, and you also get to vote on a monthly episode that we call the Potato Pick because you're couch potatoes.
Yeah. And we love you for it.
Definitely.
Now, sorry to interrupt you. You're ready to go for your closing.
Yeah, just closing statements. So, I like this movie. That's not even a movie. I'm such a terrible podcaster. This show is fun, I think. But I understand why somebody could completely hate it. If you're just given these 5 episodes. I see a good portion of people not watching past the first episode for reasons that we talked about. However, I am excited to see what the next 5 episodes are. So keep it up, Kevin. Thank you for being the best nerd out there. And that the biggest thing I want to get across is that even though we're divisive on your show, we want you on ours.
Oh yeah, like I fucking love Kevin Smith. Like as a creator, I respect anybody who has like such imaginative awesomeness.
Yeah.
And like he continues to impress even if I don't like everything that he puts down.
Right.
But in here, as you said, he's a fucking amazing nerd, and like he definitely, I'm sure, did this with a lot of passion.
Oh yeah.
It reads across super well to a lot of people, and it makes me happy that a lot of people love it. But I just wasn't, it didn't grip me as a kid, the show. And coming into it as an adult, I wasn't heavily invested from the get-go. So it's probably just that, honestly. Like,
right.
It could have just been me not being, like, super excited about it. But at the same time, I looked at it and I was like, yeah, they're 20-minute episodes, 5 episodes. I can fucking do that.
Right.
Like, that's not that bad. And it wasn't that bad. I didn't hate the show. Like, I know I started off at the very episode at the beginning saying I hated it. But, like, I didn't actually hate it. I'm not going to remember that I watched it in 2 months.
Sure. That's totally fair assessment.
And that's a first for the TV talks, I think, because, again, most shows that I'm going to put all of my time and effort in and watching it completely, I'm probably going to enjoy. Yeah. Because I'm the kind of guy that if I'm not wowed within the first few episodes, I'm not sticking around. That's the creator's chance to get me. And if they don't get me, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And if everybody else is like, no, you just got to stick around to season 2, I'm going to grab them by the shoulders and be like, you don't understand obsessive compulsive disorder. It's not happening.
So I give it a face. I don't think I said that, but I give it a face. I'm excited for season 2.
I would give it 2 stars. I'm going to give it 2.5 because it is, again, it's geared towards children. And even though I do still fall in that audience of people who would like high fantasy anime like this or animation like this, I'm just gonna give it a half a star as a
because you're not sure it's for you. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. It's a gimme star. It's like 2.5, still enjoyable, still recommendable to people who love this kind of shit. Not kind of shit as in it's bad, but this kind of stuff. This enjoyable stuff.
Yes,
this content. Just wasn't for me.
Please do not read into why can't I have? I used to have a vocabulary. What happened?
Yeah, I used to have synonyms and like adjectives, but like I got rid of them quickly. I replaced them with other unnecessary stuff, like how to play a harmonica.
Yeah, I guess you just only have so much brain power, guys, or it just gets buried. My brain, if it was like a filing cabinet, I'm sure that there's no folders in there. It's just all stacked and tossed around.
I try to put up like that mind palace that Sherlock has. Like I try to, to build that in my own mind. And it was just a lot of cobwebs and empty rooms. And there's like maybe like 5 books on a shelf somewhere. Yeah. But like I couldn't find them
in there. So
yeah, like I was in there for like 5 minutes and I was like, it's really cold in here. Like, Jesus Christ. That's another thing. Like I have a, where I'm seated because my computer is in very bad condition and it's hard to move it. I am like being blasted by my air conditioner.
Oh my God.
And like, I need the air conditioner on because if it's not on, it's going to get really fucking hot in this room really fucking fast. And I could open up a window, but the only window I have is in my bedroom.
Oh my God.
And if I were to open up my screen door, my dog would go through that within 5 seconds.
Oh yeah.
So I need the AC on these hot days. The problem is it distributes really well throughout the room, but if I'm sitting right underneath it, I'm freezing the fuck ever. Man, it's cold. And it makes it really hard to think too when you're just sitting there shivering. It's like, fuck.
God. Yeah, you gotta have the AC on when it's hot. I mean, I'm sorry if that really fucks with anybody who listens to us. I think we do a pretty good job of editing it out. But anyhow, yeah, is that our show?
Yeah, that's our jumbled, messed up, crazy ass show, and I love it.
I do. I love doing this. Even if we're terrible at it, I don't care. I've been the Faceless Leone.
And I am the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
Safe travels and good night. Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of FictionWorks 19. If you like the show, please show your support by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Like, follow, subscribe, wherever you might listen. We also now have a Patreon account. If you feel so inclined to support us in a financial manner, please become a patron by visiting patreon.com/greenandfaceless. You can also find more information about us on our Facebook account or on the FictionWorks 19 Instagram account. Thank you so much for listening.